One day I was sitting in the sauna wondering the great questions of life, like why on earth would someone still use WordPress? When I realized that it's been a while since I've played around with WordPress. So today is a time for speed test. Hi guys, my name is Janne, I'm your designer friend from Finland, and maybe the biggest reason why I left the promised open source land of WordPress is of course Webflow and the ability to make beautiful and fast websites. I know you can make fast websites using WordPress, but at least I felt that it's way easier with Webflow. So today we're gonna see if that still holds. As you can probably tell by now, I'm biased and I'm not an academic or any sort of scientist, but nevertheless I will make this as objective as I can. That means I have to go through the test setup in detail, and if you'd like to jump straight to the results, go ahead, I don't judge, there's a timestamp below. Suppose you have already done that and now you're back to see how the test is done. That's great, welcome back. Just do me a solid and leave a like and subscribe while you're at it. Okay, I'm gonna go through Contenders, the testing tools, some practicalities and metrics before we get to the actual results. To start with the Contenders, of course Webflow is still the challenger, so to speak, because WordPress is just so widely adopted. And today Webflow is against three WordPress setups. There is Elementor, the Divi Builder, and a developer theme called Blank Slate. Let's dive a bit deeper. So all the sites will have a .com custom domain, and Webflow is of course using Amazon Web Services as a hosting platform. The CDN is by Fastly, and the price starts from $14 a month. Elementor is actually using their own hosting services, which are built upon Google Cloud Services, and they use Cloudflare as CDN. The theme is Hello Elementor, and the only two plugins that are installed are Elementor and Elementor Pro. The price starts from $9.99 per month, and that's actually quite a competitive price in this category. Then we have the Divi and Blank Slate, which are both running on the GoDaddy's managed WordPress services or servers, and they use Cloudflare as well. Themes are Divi and Blank Slate, of course, and the only plugin for Divi is the Divi Builder. Divi is of course a paid service, and it comes with a cost of $89 yearly, and on top of that there's of course the GoDaddy prices, and that is $10.99 per month. If you're wondering what is this Blank Slate theme, it basically represents a minimal developer theme. If you have WordPress experience, you might know that many developers like to start with these developer themes that have basically nothing pre-installed. The Blank Slate was one of the smallest developer themes I could find, and it actually had 0 plugins installed in the test. Elementor and Divi of course had their own plugins installed because they are like the core offering of their services. I tested 2 page variations for each contender. There was the light page containing a heading, a optimized WebP image, and a default button. The second variation I called Not So Light Page, and it contained a heading, a unoptimized JPEG image, a YouTube embed, and a bunch of text. On all the pages I used the default layouts, so on Webflow I just threw the elements on the blank canvas. Elementor and Divi had some structural elements by default, and on Blank Slate I of course used the WordPress block builder. The WordPress setups had default navbars and footers, so in fair game I threw in a navbar element for the Webflow too. And the last detail about the Contenders, I deleted the unused WordPress themes from the WordPress sites, but all the other settings I left as they were, so no optimization of any kinds took place. By me at least. Of course the platforms will do a bunch of stuff by default. Moving on to the testing tools. So I used 3 testing tools. First one was Catchpoint's web page test, then there's of course Google's Page Speed Insight and GT metrics. If catch point doesn't sound familiar, it's probably because it's the fourth one on the Google search results. I was about to use Pingdom tools, which is of course a great tool, but I went with Catchpoint because it gave more data and the same metrics as the other tools. And the tool configurations were as in here. To get a fair sample, the locations and the connections were varied. Catchpoint tests were done from Virginia, USA, GD metrics from Tokyo, Japan, and Page Speed Insight from Europe. I ran the tests using desktop and mobile devices provided by the tools, so I didn't actually use my phone, for example. I conducted 3 test runs with each contestant, page variation, testing tool, and the device. That meant 4 contestants times 2 variations times 3 tools times 2 devices times 3 runs, so that should equal 288 runs in total. Divided for each testing tool, it's of course 96 test runs. And that leads us to the topic of consistency of results. If you have ever run these tests, you probably know that the results vary quite a lot, even with back-to-back test runs with the same tool. And that's why I ran the tests in the group of 3s with multiple variations, and I'm hoping we get some sort of consistency from the results. But just keep in mind that many things may affect the results. I also listed the runs and the results in an Airtable base. There's a link down in the description, and on top of that I made a Drive folder containing screenshots of the test runs, and there's a link to that too. Okay, I know that you're eager to hear the actual results, but before that I have to be transparent and show how I actually conducted the tests. Some wiser dude would have probably made an automation for this one, but I did it the old-fashioned way, meaning manually. I had 3 incognito windows open, 1 for each testing tool, and I ran the tests simultaneously. I started with the light page variations and proceeded to the not so light pages. I went through the same process separately with the desktop and mobile tests. After each run, I wrote down the results to the Airtable base and took the screenshots. The test runs were conducted in 2 different days during the November of 2023. I promise we are getting closer to the results. If you're still here, I guess you are either my mom or really interested in website speed testing. And the last chapter before the actual results is of course the metrics overview. If you are familiar with Google Web Vitals and Speed Index, there's probably nothing new in this section, so go on, skip ahead. Again, I don't judge you. For all the other folks, Google has this stack of essential website metrics called Core Web Vitals, and they are largest contentful paint, which measures the loading performance, first input delay, which measures interactivity and actually will be replaced by Google in this Core Web Vitals stack, and cumulative layout shift, which measures visual stability. In our test, we will be looking at largest contentful paint and cumulative layout shift, but the first input delay will be replaced by total blocking time, and this is because the simulative nature of these testing tools. So one more time, largest contentful paint will be our main speed metric, and it essentially measures the time it takes for the page to load the largest content piece. Total blocking time is our interactivity metric, and it measures the time the page is actually visible but non-interactive. Cumulative layout shift measures the amount the elements shift during the rendering of the page. It's not an actual speed metric, but relevant nevertheless. On top of those, we'll have the speed index, which measures how quickly the site looks usable. I wanted to have some sort of a fully loaded metric, but the tools lacked one coherent one, so speed index it is. And the last two metrics are page size and amount of requests. The size is of course the amount of data the browser needs to download to see the page, and the requests are in a way related to this, and it's just the amount of different files the browser again requests for the site. These will include code files, images, and of course JavaScript libraries and those sort of things. And finally, we are in the results. If you took a shortcut timestamp thing, I don't blame you. Just do me a solid and leave a like and subscribe. That would really mean a lot to me. Last reminder, all sorts of things can affect the loading speeds. I will save the speculations for the later, but here are the results. Just kidding, here's the first of the four main graphs. LCP, largest contentful paint. This is the Google's preferred performance metric. The smaller the bar, the better the result. You can see the logos representing the platforms, and the small icons below them tell you if the variation was the light page or the not so light page. And as you can see, Webflow had the worst results. And to be honest, this really surprised me. I'm unsure why it is the way it is, but as I said, let's leave the speculations for the later. Another surprising result is of course the winner, the Divi builder. Divi has never been a speed champion, at least in my mind, but it clearly won this round. The light page variant of Divi beats even the minimal blank slate WordPress setup, which is somehow puzzling to me because I believe the Divi is larger in size, and I know that the Webflow is the smallest of the bunch. So clearly there's something more to this than meets the eye. We have to also remember that Google considers everything below 2.5 seconds as a good result, so even all our poorly optimized sites made it. Next graph, total blocking time. And again, the smaller the bar, the better the result. So this is more like interactivity metric, and Webflow clearly fares better in this category. WordPress page builders score the worst results, and that might be due to multiple JavaScript libraries. GD Metrics recommends that the TBT should be below 150 milliseconds, and all of our not so light variants landed quite far from that. To be fair, that was the aim, to test out how the sites perform with some unoptimized content. Moving on to the cumulative layout shift, and as you can see, Webflow got the worst result by far. So CLS measures how much the layout shifts when the site is loaded. So it's not a speed metric, it's more like user experience metric. And of course this could be fixed quite easily with small changes in the Webflow designer. But kudos to especially Elementor and the blank slate that handled this aspect right out of the box. Back to the speed part of the test. So speed index shows how quickly the site appears to be usable. Again, Webflow finishes in the middle of the pack, and I have to admit that I believed that Webflow would easily beat the WordPress sites. And I guess I'll have to announce that the blank slate was clear winner in this category. Then we arrive to the page size. And finally, a metric where I can declare the Webflow as the winner. Okay, yeah, the blank slate is few kilobytes smaller than the Webflow in the not so light category, but when you look at the light pages, the Divi is 3 times the size of the Webflow site. That is the reason I started using Webflow and why I was so confident that Webflow would win this whole game easily. Okay, I wanted to show you some more graphs, but I was lazy, so the Airtable graphs will do for now. And actually you can check these out yourself if you'd like. Just go to the Airtable base through the link in the description. One thing I was able to predict was the Webflow winning the number of requests category. And as you can see, even the blank slate has quite a few requests from the start. And if you can't see the graphs, they are just here in the extensions tab. There are lots of interesting stuff in here. For example, this graph that combines GD metrics and Google page speed insight scores. And as you can see, Webflow got the worst and best scores. So that's odd. Okay, I'm ready for the speculations. As I said, I thought that Webflow would easily beat WordPress, but clearly that was not the case. The following things are not defending any contender, they are just things that might have affected the tests. The first one is YouTube embed. So the not so light pages had YouTube embeds, which of course means that when you load the page, the video has to come from Google servers. The embeds were made in the same manner for all the sites, meaning I pasted the same iframe code to a basic code block. So this was same for all, but in a way Google's performance was a big part of the results. The second consideration is WordPress hosting. So WordPress has clearly come a long way with this managed WordPress optimized servers and services. Some of this may even help up with the setup and maintenance processes. I actually thought that Elementor with their own hosting could surprise and bring some hope for the no-coders in the WordPress land, but it still seems the sites come with a quite large page size and a bunch of requests. Okay, then the biggest speculation. Does this represent a real world use? And I would say no, not exactly. For example, WordPress sites had no additional plugins installed, which means that there were no additional features and no optimization plugins either. And if you have ever built a WordPress site, you know that you can't live without them. Webflow, on the other hand, does not have plugins in the same manner than WordPress, but you can still make a poorly performing site if you don't know what you're doing. Maybe the better test setup would be to build identical and optimized mockup sites with these platforms and then test the speeds. This could even reveal how easy it is to get a decent performance score with each platform. I'm actually considering doing another test in this manner, so leave a comment if you are interested or if there's something I should consider while doing it. I guess the conclusion is that Webflow is not clearly faster than WordPress, at least in this test. Webflow is still smaller in the page size and requires fewer requests by default. Yeah, we should all keep on working for fast and light internet. WordPress folks should consider optimized hosting if you're not already on it, and somehow try to keep your page size minimal. And Webflow dudes and dudettes, you should probably look into cumulative layout shifts and how you can attack that problem. That's all for now. Have a nice day and see you in the next one.